This week in Washington, President Donald Trump made headlines by signing a landmark piece of legislation that could reshape the nation's understanding of one of its most controversial scandals. In a move watched closely by both the media and the public, Trump put pen to paper in the Oval Office, officially enacting a law that many have been demanding for years. The new law orders the Department of Justice to release its long-secret files on Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier whose connections to powerful figures have fueled speculation and suspicion for over a decade. For the first time, the government is compelled to open its vaults and share what it knows with the American people. This historic decision comes after years of mounting public outcry, with activists, journalists, and ordinary citizens demanding answers and accountability. The law now requires the government to reveal the extent of Epstein's network and to shed light on the influential individuals who may have been involved or complicit in his crimes. The bill's passage was swift and decisive, earning overwhelming bipartisan support in both the House and the Senate. In a rare display of unity, lawmakers from across the political spectrum came together, recognizing the importance of transparency and justice over party lines. President Trump's decision to sign the bill marked a dramatic reversal from his earlier stance and came only after weeks of intense lobbying from lawmakers, advocacy groups, and, most importantly, survivors of Epstein's abuse. Their voices, amplified by a groundswell of public support, proved impossible to ignore. For advocates of government transparency, the law's passage is a significant victory, but many caution that the true challenge is just beginning. The Justice Department now faces the daunting task of reviewing, redacting, and ultimately releasing documents that could implicate some of the most powerful people in the country. All eyes are now on the DOJ, which must act swiftly and decisively to comply with the new law. The nation is watching, and the pressure to deliver real transparency has never been greater. The contents of these files could have far-reaching consequences, potentially exposing uncomfortable truths and shaking the foundations of power in Washington and beyond. The revelations may not only impact political careers, but could also change the public's understanding of how deep Epstein's influence truly ran. For survivors and their families, this moment represents a long-awaited glimmer of hope. After years of silence and frustration, there is finally a chance for justice, healing, and perhaps some measure of closure. The public, too, is eager to see the truth come to light. The coming weeks will be critical, as the country waits with bated breath to see what secrets will finally be revealed. The path to full disclosure may be long and difficult, but for many, this is the first real step toward accountability and justice in the Epstein saga. The new law, recently passed by Congress, gives the Justice Department just 30 days to release the long-awaited Epstein files. This legislation marks a pivotal moment in the ongoing quest for transparency and accountability, as it compels the government to act swiftly and decisively. With President Trump's signature, the countdown officially began, setting a firm deadline that ends on December 19, 2025. The clock is now ticking, and every day brings us closer to a moment that many have been demanding for years. This tight 30-day window is no accident. Lawmakers designed it to prevent bureaucratic stalling, ensuring that the process moves forward without unnecessary delays or excuses. The urgency is clear. The public wants answers, and they want them now. DOJ officials now face the daunting task of reviewing a massive trove of documents, thousands of pages, each potentially containing sensitive information. They must carefully decide what can be made public, and what, if anything, must be withheld for legal or security reasons. The stakes are high, and the margin for error is slim. The law's overwhelming bipartisan support in Congress reflects the intense pressure for answers from both sides of the aisle. Lawmakers from across the political spectrum have united, recognizing the importance of transparency in restoring public trust. In rare agreement, lawmakers declared that the era of secrecy is over. They insist that accountability must finally begin, and that the American people deserve to know the truth behind one of the most controversial scandals in recent memory. As the deadline approaches, the nation is watching with anticipation and hope, eager for what could become one of the most significant document releases in recent history. Newsrooms, advocacy groups, and ordinary citizens are all waiting to see what will be revealed. For survivors, this is more than just a legal deadline. It's a countdown to potential closure, validation, and perhaps a sense of justice that has long been denied. For the public, it's a rare opportunity to finally learn the full truth about a scandal that has reached the highest levels of power, and to hold those responsible to account. The next month will be a crucial test of the government's commitment to transparency, and the world will be watching to see if promises of openness are truly kept. The Epstein files could unlock the secrets that have remained hidden for years, shrouded in mystery and speculation. For a long time, the public has only caught glimpses of the vast network surrounding Jeffrey Epstein. But these files could finally provide the answers that so many have demanded. They may expose the inner workings of a vast criminal enterprise, revealing how Epstein and his associates operated with apparent impunity for decades. The files are expected to include detailed records from multiple federal investigations, unredacted flight logs, and comprehensive lists of everyone who traveled on Epstein's private jets, information that could connect powerful individuals to his activities. Transcripts of interviews with victims and witnesses may reveal disturbing new details about what happened at Epstein's properties, shedding light on the experiences of those who have bravely come forward, as well as those who have remained silent until now. Inventories of items seized from his homes, computers, photographs, financial records, and the infamous Black Book could finally be made public, offering a clearer picture of the evidence that investigators have been piecing together for years. Internal DOJ communications might shed light on the controversial 2008 plea deal that let Epstein escape serious charges, raising questions about who intervened on his behalf and why justice was delayed for so long. Most explosively, the files could name individuals and organizations that enabled or participated in Epstein's crimes, potentially implicating high-profile figures from the worlds of politics, business, and entertainment. The release of these names is highly sensitive, with the potential to implicate people who have so far avoided scrutiny. The world's media is watching closely, ready to report on every revelation and every new connection that comes to light. For many, this is the moment of reckoning, an opportunity to expose a web of complicity and demand accountability. Survivors, advocates, and the public at large are calling for transparency and justice, hoping that the truth will finally emerge. As the nation waits, the question remains: just how deep does the scandal go, and who will be held responsible when the full story is finally revealed? While the law demands transparency, it also protects the privacy of Epstein's victims. The DOJ is required to redact names, contact information, and medical records of survivors to prevent further harm. This ensures the focus remains on perpetrators, not those who suffered. The law also allows withholding information that could compromise ongoing investigations into Epstein's associates. Some files may be blacked out or withheld entirely, not to hide the truth, but to protect the vulnerable and preserve the integrity of future prosecutions. These redactions are a legal and ethical necessity. The challenge for the DOJ is to balance transparency with responsibility. The public should expect some frustration, but also understand the need for careful handling. The real test will be whether the DOJ applies these exceptions judiciously. The goal: reveal as much as possible, while safeguarding those who need protection. Attorney General Pam Bondi now leads the effort to release the Epstein files. She's pledged full compliance with the law and emphasized that protecting victims' privacy is her top priority. Bondi's statement was meant to reassure survivors and the public that the DOJ will honor both transparency and dignity. She also hinted at new information recently uncovered, fueling speculation about what the files might contain. Bondi's leadership will be tested as the DOJ navigates this complex, high-stakes process. The nation, and especially the survivors, will be watching every move. For Epstein's survivors and their families, the bill's signing is deeply personal, a hard-won victory in their fight for justice. The family of Virginia Giuffre, who died earlier this year, called it a monumental moment and urged full transparency to honor her memory. Survivors expressed cautious optimism, celebrating the law but warning that true justice requires the full, unredacted truth. Many remain wary, fearing the files could be heavily redacted or incomplete. Across the country, the public echoed their call for accountability, with Release the Files trending once again. This case has come to symbolize the fight against a system where the powerful evade justice. The release of the files is seen as a chance to finally break that pattern. Survivors' voices have driven this moment, making it impossible for lawmakers to ignore. As the deadline nears, the demand for truth grows louder. Trump's decision to sign the bill marked a sharp reversal from his earlier dismissal of the Epstein files as a political hoax. Facing bipartisan pressure, he shifted course, hoping to frame the release to his political advantage. On social media, Trump claimed the files would damage his opponents, injecting partisanship into what many see as a matter of justice. The bill's signing came amid heightened political tensions, with Trump making inflammatory posts about Democratic lawmakers. This volatile climate threatens to overshadow the core issue: justice for Epstein's victims. The challenge now is to keep the focus on facts, not partisan spin. The nation must cut through the noise to ensure accountability prevails. Even with the new law, uncertainty surrounds the release of the Epstein files. The DOJ has broad discretion to redact information, raising questions about how much the public will actually see. Will the files be released all at once or in stages? Will they be accessible and searchable, or buried in hard-to-read formats? If powerful individuals are implicated, will the DOJ act swiftly? The credibility of the justice system is on the line. If the files are too heavily redacted, Congress and advocacy groups may demand further action. The fight for full transparency may continue long after the deadline. The release of the Epstein files is a test of America's commitment to justice and transparency. For years, the scandal has fueled cynicism about the powerful escaping accountability. These documents could finally reveal who enabled Epstein's crimes and who looked the other way. For survivors, the truth is essential for healing and justice. The revelations may be painful, but they are necessary for a national reckoning. The media and public must seek facts over spin as the story unfolds. The DOJ now carries the weight of the nation's expectations. The world is watching, hoping that this time, the full story will be told. Justice, at last, may finally be within reach.